Hi, this is Stefan Gonick, Soulmate Attraction mentor and founder of the Soulmate Attraction Academy from singletosoulmate.me. Welcome to Love Talk Q&A, the place to be to get your questions answered about finding and keeping the love of your life. Now, in this episode of Love Talk Q&A, I'm going to answer the following question. When I go on a date, I don't know what to say. We have silences that I feel pressure to fill because I don't want to disappoint my date. What can I do? Well, I used to have that very same experience lots of times. I'd be going on a date with somebody new, and we'd be doing something, and I'd feel this pressure of maintaining this conversation. And then I would get stuck. It's like, I don't know what to say, and it'd be these sort of lengthy silences, and then that would make it worse, and then I'd feel even more stuck, and it was very uncomfortable. And I kept having that experience over and over again until I made one key change in my thinking. And for me, at least, that took care of it. So first, the way to look at this is to understand where this is coming from, and then that'll give you an idea what the solution is. So the first thing is it's coming from this place of insecurity, not knowing if this person's going to like you, right? That's how I'd be feeling. It's like, I'm not sure if she's going to like me. I want her to like me. And I was feeling this pressure of, I have to entertain her, right? I have to be, interesting and fascinating and sort of get her interest. So it's like I put all this pressure and responsibility on myself to have this stimulating conversation going. And I was also feeling, kind of scared and insecure at the same time. None of which is conducive to having a good conversation, right? There's just too much pressure, too much fear, things and nervousness, things like that. So the first step that I finally got to, which was a big help for me, was to simply go, I'm only 50% of the responsibility for having a conversation here, right? If there's a silence, it's not my problem. It's not even necessarily a problem, but it's not all me. The other person is half of this conversation. So if I'm not saying anything and she's not saying anything, then it's both of us, right? It's not, I was kind of taking too much responsibility for the conversation. I was kind of putting it all on myself. So I just decided, for better or worse, that I am no longer going to be responsible for running the conversation. And if there's a silence, that's okay. I decided to let silences not be some kind of super uncomfortable thing, but just allowed it to be a natural part of the situation. Because silences usually don't last too long, because at some point somebody will think of something to say. What actually tends to prolong a silence is to get anxious about the fact there's a silence. Because if we're anxious, it's hard for us to think clearly. It's hard for us to think of something to say, and we start getting awkward and desperate to try and say something. But that anxiety, that intensity, that pressure makes it, again, hard to think of something, so it's a vicious cycle. So as soon as I gave myself a break and go, first of all, I'm only half of the responsibility here. And if we don't have good conversations, well, that's what we found out about each other, that apparently we don't have good conversations, so not a good partner for me, right? But I just decided to let silences be okay. So there's a silence, I would just kind of feel like, okay, instead of feeling awkward about the silence, I'm now going to feel like we're just going to commune together in this silence. And when something comes up to say, either by her or by me, good. So now we're talking again. Now, another thing that kind of can help with this is to do an activity on your date that is more active than simply sitting across from each other at a table. The classic first date is to meet for tea or have dinner or something like that, where you're sitting at a table face to face and you're not doing anything other than trying to talk to each other. That puts a lot of pressure on a first date or an early date because there's no context in which to interact, right? There's nothing happening other than you're sitting facing each other. It's like, okay, what should we talk about, right? So what I found worked better, as I went doing a lot of dating over the years, I started to discover what tends to be, better and what things to do is to do something that is more active with things going on around you. So for instance, going for a walk through town. Just through, I live in a small town area, so there's this nice little, 3-block long downtown area in my town, all these little interesting shops and things. So you can do window shopping, there's interesting people walking by, there's stuff going on. And so there's lots of material to work with in that case. Or if there's some kind of event going on, like let's say there's a crafts fair, you can go to the crafts fair and kind of look at this stuff and go, oh, look at this, isn't this cool? There's things to interact about. So you're not just trying to make conversation, right? But even there might be moments of silence, in which case, just be okay with it. Just go with a moment of silence. Like if there's a moment of silence, just actually enjoy the communing and the silence together. Like if you're going for a walk and you're not talking, instead of focusing on, we're not talking, there's silence, it's uncomfortable, and I need to think of something to say, instead, just look at the view. Just go, look at the trees, look at the grass, look at the flowers, look at whatever is going on around you. And at some point you'll think of something. And just let it happen naturally. Don't try and push it. And maybe the other person will think of something. So you do not have to take 100% responsibility for the conversation. It's a 50-50 thing. And it's much easier to talk when you have some kind of activity going on that gives you material to talk about and interact about. Another cool advantage to doing an activity rather than just sitting at a table facing each other is that you get a better sense of what it's like to be with the person doing something. Sitting at a table talking before you know somebody is a very unnatural kind of artificial setting. It's much harder to get a sense of what it's like to be together and do things together because you're not actually doing anything, right? So there's a second benefit to having dates where you're doing something because you can see what that person's like in that setting, right? A lot of who the person is comes out more easily when you're doing some kind of activity together. Now, the other thing you can do, of course, is I'm an EFT person, is you can do tapping. For those of you who don't know what EFT is, EFT is this wonderful tool, involves tapping acupuncture points like this, that helps release negative emotions. So if you tend to go into dates feeling anxious, which kind of sets you up for this long, uncomfortable silence thing, as you're heading out to the date, driving somewhere, or if you're being picked up, the half hour before you're being picked up, or even just the 10 minutes before you're being picked up, do a little tapping to help relieve some of the nervousness, to relieve some of the anxiety, to let go of some of the pressure about being responsible for the conversation, stuff like that. That can help you relax. If you have any other tools to help you relax, some people like meditate for a while, or whatever tools you have, breathing exercises, anything that you can do right before the date, they'll help you get into a more relaxed, more comfortable place. That's another thing you can do to be more comfortable in your dates. So I hope that was helpful. I encourage you to check out all the other videos in my Love Talk Q&A series, as they talk about all sorts of other aspects of the dating process and finding love and things like that. And I'll catch you on the next episode of Love Talk Q&A. Did you like this video? If so, click on the like button below, subscribe to this channel, and spread the love to your friends. And if you have questions about your love life, please submit them in the comments below, and your question just might appear in an upcoming episode of Love Talk Q&A. Also, if you would like to understand the 3 key blocks to finding love and how to attract your soulmate now, sign up for the free Finding the Love You Want mini course. Well, thank you for hanging out with me, and remember, no matter how long you've been trying, you really can have the life and love you long for. This is Stefan Gonick, International Love Coach from FindingTheLoveYouWant.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time on Love Talk Q&A.